Hey, welcome back to the Hot Wrench Fabrication Shop. Today I want to talk about relays. Not everybody really understands relays, why we need them. If you're going to be making a circuit on your car, you want to try some of your own wiring. This might be helpful for you to understand why and how you properly use a relay. So we're going to go over some of that stuff right now. Now there's all kinds of different relays, different sizes. There's actually different shapes now. Like this particular one here is a later model vehicle. Has a little 4-pin on there like that, and then this is more of a traditional style that has the 5 pins. So I'm going to go over all that and the different applications, why we have 5 pins, and I'll go over all these little babies right here and kind of show you some of the differences. But first I want to go over the actual wiring and a little bit of the logic behind a relay. So stay tuned. 85 and 86 is going to be your power and ground going to your coil. So 85 is typically a ground, negative, and then 86 is going to be B plus, battery plus. A lot of times on the vehicles nowadays, the ground side switch is done through the computer. And it's really important that you get the right type of relay that has a protection in there, surge protection. This is an electromagnet. This is a coil on here. When you collapse that field, you're actually going to have a spike of voltage going back around, and that could go up into the computer and fry some circuitry. So what this little symbol is right here is a diode. So the diode allows juice to only flow one way and will not allow it to go the other way. So it is important to actually hook up, if you have that diode, you have to hook up ground on 85 and B plus on 86. Without the diode on there, you can hook them up either way you want, but then you have no surge protection. If you're hooking up just some KC lights or something like that, not going to a computer, it's not that big a deal. You really don't need it, but it's always nice to have on there. Another way for protection is they're doing resistors in here. So a resistor is going to gobble up that voltage spike, dissipate that energy so it can't get into the computer. So a resistor is basically going to be just a square box in there instead of that little triangle symbol, just a square box. That's the newer way to do it. The old school resistor way would be a little Z like that through there. That indicates that there is a resistor. Either one of those symbols on there is going to give you some surge protection. Very important to have. And then when we go over here, 30 is typically B plus. And this is going to be your higher amperage. Like I said before, this is only 0.7 amps that goes to this. So we don't need much juice here at all. We can use a very small circuit, very small wire, and just a small little fuse in there. This one though, this is going to carry your load. So if it's a 30 amp relay and you have some big lights or fans or a fuel pump or something that you need to juice up, this is going to have to be, bigger wires on this side. So B positive goes into there, and then 87 goes to your load. Fans, lights, anything that you want to run electrically that has a little bit more power, 87 is going to go there. Right now, 87A is battery positive. You have juice flowing through here and it's going to battery positive. When this is not engaged, no power going to this, this is in its resting spot, 87A has power going to it. So why would we need that? It's really not a whole lot of situations where you would, but one use that I have on my car is I made my own tail lights. So this goes to my tail light. When I turn my headlights on, it juices this up right here, and my tail lights work. I have the brake switch going to the ground. So when I push on the brakes, it activates a switch. It connects to the ground. That, of course, energizes this. This little pole pulls over. And then this goes to my brake lights. So it goes from tail over to brake. And I made my own little LEDs, bought them and stuck them in there, and I could switch them back and forth like that. So that is one use for that. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot of uses for the 87A. You know, you can come up with some crazy stuff. Went a little too far. But yeah, that's basically how that works. So you want to buy a good relay. You want some sort of surge protection on there. Also really important to have weather pack connectors. You don't want sand and water and mud and all kinds of stuff getting that in there, especially if it's exposed. If it's underneath your dash, then you know that's one thing. But in the sand cars and stuff like that, everything is exposed, so we don't want to get those wet. So get a good weather pack. They have rubber seals in there and snap together, and then it keeps the whole circuit protected. All right, so this first one I have is just a little bit different. You can see the shape of it is a little different. It's a 4-pin, so it's not going to have the 87A. And you can see on here, it still has your 30 and your 87, and then 85 and 86. So it's still a relay, still works the same way, just slightly different shaped. And then right down there, you can see it does have the fuse protection on there. All right, so here's another style. A little bit skinnier. This is a 5-pin. Does have the 87A this time. Still relay, works the same way. It just has a slightly different socket. So this is all for late model cars. And then right there you can kind of make out that it does have the little fuse protection on that one. So this is the one I was just showing you guys. 5-pin. And this one actually doesn't even have a diagram on it. So, oh, I'm sorry, this one does. One of these other ones doesn't have it. Okay, my bad. My bad. Calm down. All right, so this one has your 85, 86, 30, 87A, and then 87. No fuse, no diode on this one. So that's not going to be a very safe computer-friendly relay. All right, moving down the line. So this one, pretty much the same as its little buddy next door there. Same numbers on there, but this one does have the fused protection. So as you can see, you really got to be careful on what you're buying. Here's another one. Actually, it has a really good clear picture on there. 85, 86, 87, 5-pin, no protection. One more example. So this is a really good Bosch one. Same numbers, but it does have the fuse protection on there. And then we get into a couple of different ones. This one's like a weather protected one. It does have the 5-pin. This is the one that doesn't have any kind of diagram, so don't know if that one's fuse protected or not. And then this guy down here, this is actually a 50 amp. So this is a big one. And it definitely has the fuse protection on there. It's going to need that. It only has 4 pins on it, so it only goes to 87. So with this off, it's not going anywhere. With it on, of course, it goes to 87. So it's a 50 amp, and you could see how much bigger. See, these 37 and or 30 and 87 are huge, and then these are smaller again. So I could still control a 50 amp fuse with just a normal, tiny little plastic cheapo switch, because this only draws 0.7 amps, less than an amp to turn this coil on to control 50 amps. So that's the advantage of having a relay on your car and on your system. And then this is weather pack. So this comes with the rubber seal, has the deeper sides on there compared to something like that. That is not going to be a weather sealed. So if I'm putting that out in the elements somewhere, it's going to get dirty, it's going to get corroded, and it could fail. If it's under the dash of a regular car, I'm not worried about it, but I'm into the sandrail stuff, and I think most of my audience is too. So this kind of pertains to sandrail, so I would definitely buy some of these better weather pack. And then they have the little bracket on there so you can bolt them down all in line and just make for a really, really nice clean wiring job. So here's my plug. Get a good angle, there we go. I'm gonna go over some of this wiring. It's just the way I do it. It's actually pretty simple. I like to get this marine heat shrink tubing from Harbor Freight. It's the waterproof stuff that that has a little wax in it. So when you heat it up, it seals it, makes it waterproof. It's kind of nice. So I already mounted the relay. I put the plug in there, and then I just kind of measured where the ground was going to go. I didn't really have to clip off much, but put your heat shrink on there first. So we'll just grab a little piece of that. Very important to put this on first because you ain't putting it on afterwards unless you start all over. So get it far enough away to where the heat doesn't melt it from your soldering. And then just clip yourself off a small amount of wire. You don't want very much wire because you don't want it sticking out of here. So this is a normal crimp-on style connector. You put it on there, you can crimp it, and it's ready to go. Make sure my video is still playing. Sorry. You can buy these without the little cover on them, but I simply just take the cover off like that. It just pops right off. Some of them are a little bit harder than others, but it's not too bad. Kind of bent it a tiny bit, but that's no big deal. So now I have a terminal I could solder on there. So they make different kinds of little holders like this. This one's kind of cool because it's magnetic. So you can stick it on a car, clip that in there. I also made one that just goes into the vise, piece of welding wire and a couple alligator clips. But these are handy. If you don't have an extra set of hands, just clip that in there, and that's all there is to it. So obviously there's all kinds of different soldering irons. I have a little gas powered one, I have a actual old school electric one, and then I have the battery or the rechargeable one. This one seems to be doing pretty good. It heats up relatively quick and it heats up hot. So I like to use a little bit thinner solder. It seems to melt a little bit better. So you put that on there, put it on the back side, and let it heat all that up. If you put a little bit on your tip of that, it's called tinning it, and actually helps to transfer the heat a little better, but you can see, and that's all there is to it. Heats that up, gets it all in the middle like that, and we're done. Shut that off. The only thing I don't like about this particular one is it doesn't have a flat spot on there, so you set it down and it can roll away. It's kind of weird. A little flaw in the design. So that cools down pretty quick. And put your heat shrink on there, and then just heat it up. You can use a lighter, a torch, a heat gun. Usually you don't want to use flame if you're working inside the car. You could ignite something or melt another wire. Gotta really be careful with that. That's it. So now we have a nice professional looking ground on there. And like I said before, the wiring, we're going to put key on power to this one. That's going to control my coil. Battery constant on this one. You can see that's a pretty good sized wire. And then this is going to go to the new water pump, and then this one just gets cut off. And you don't want to leave it like that because you'll actually have power on there all the time. So we'll just put a little heat shrink on it. Where'd that small piece go? Oh, here it is. I don't know if that's, no, it's not going to fit. Put this one on there. All right, we'll just use that as a little cap. So stick that up out of there just a little bit. Careful not to melt your other wires. move that heat in and out pretty quick. And it typically doesn't melt anything. There we go. Slow down, baby. All right. I'm not sure if you can pick that up on the camera, but there is a little wax coming out right there. And then the wax will close that all in. If we do need to use it someday, we still have enough to solder a wire on there. So yeah, pretty simple, huh? Who knew that wiring could be so easy? So I hope this is educational for you. Most of you guys, it may be pretty basic or even, you know, a little silly, but I just thought it'd be fun to do this. And comment below if you did enjoy this content, and if you have some questions on these circuits, I'd be happy to answer it. I got over 40 years of experience as a technician, so I'm going to put that to use and hopefully answer some questions for you guys. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be doing some more of these little tech tips and some tool videos to show off some of my tools and why we use those and what we need those for too. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.